Morning, everybody, and welcome to another Mortgage Coach Insane Productivity Mastermind call. Every Friday, 9 o'clock Pacific, we're here to connect as a community. What makes this call special is it is a mastermind. If you are on this call, the more you participate, the more you engage, ask questions, whether you ask those through GoToWebinar. So if you have a GoToWebinar control panel, you can post your questions there. There's a way for you to raise your hand, and we can unmute you and have a conversation with you. So please ask questions. We will get to them. I don't think a call's gone by where we haven't addressed every question or at least spoken to it and said, hey, we'll answer that in more detail next week. So your questions are what this call is all about. As my co-host today, I have Mr. Todd Bookspan. What's up, Todd?
Hey, not much. Super excited as always to be here on a Friday.
Yeah, no, thanks for always making time to bring leadership to this call. As our primary mortgage coach mentor today, we have Mr. Danny Horanyi. Danny, it's been a while since you've been in this community.
Good morning, everybody. Happy to be here.
Thanks for being here, brother. I asked, well, Danny comes to this call often, and he has been through the Insane Productivity Program, and he is a mentor of this. But Wally Elderberry, a great leader in the mortgage coach community, a guy who's done thousands of mortgage coach reports, had posted a question on Facebook saying, hey, I need some help. I need to upgrade how I use my CRM. In the question, he was asking for referrals to CRMs. But I mean, my answer to that, Wally, is there's a really good chance that you can just upgrade how you're using your current CRM. So here at Mortgage Coach, we've got a number of amazing partners that have created integrations to Mortgage Coach. We have Jungo on the Salesforce platform. We've got Velma that's created integration. We have Velocify through their Loan Engage product that's created integration. Our newest integration is Unify, which is an awesome CRM. And we have Media Center, who is in the process of launching it. And we have lots of companies that have integrated Mortgage Coach into their own proprietary CRMs or even their own versions of Salesforce. So Mortgage Coach, we're dedicated to the family. Every time a family gets a mortgage, we want them to get a total cost analysis. But today, we really want to talk about how you can upgrade and use your own CRM better, more effectively. So in a minute, Danny, we're going to share the screen to him. We're going to kick off the call with him walking us through how he does it. But before I do that, I want to, and by the way, we also have Michele Town on today's call, a regular mentor on this call. After Danny, she's going to answer some questions and also provide a bit of an overview, kind of a shorter overview of her CRM and some of her best practices. So Todd, with that said, I want to hand it off to you for your opening thoughts, and then we'll bring in Danny whenever you're ready.
Awesome. So, again, super excited to have such a big crowd here, and I see some new names that I haven't seen before, so welcome to this call. As you all know, this started out as a call that Dave and I, with our mentors, ran for the last year, just about every Friday, and this a few weeks ago we opened it up to all of you. So appreciate you being here. If you haven't gone through Insane Productivity, no worries. There's no spoilers there. If you just started going through Insane Productivity, no worries. There's no spoilers there. And as Dave mentioned, it's a mastermind. So raise your hands if you've got a question, and we would love to call on you. You can also type the question down below, but it's always just great when we have your involvement. You are all asking the questions and part of the conversation. It just seems to make these calls that much better. I had the opportunity to have dinner with Danny back in February, and he was talking about how he used his CRM. And I always thought that I'd been a pretty effective user of my CRM. And when I was listening to Danny, I was just blown away. So super excited to have Danny here to share with us. So I guess without further ado, let me hand it over to you, Danny, and have you walk us through how you and the Gaylord Hanson team are working on it. Just a quick update. How are you guys doing year to date for closed loans?
Oh, thanks so much. Well, actually, let me pull that up. I actually just had it a second ago. We're actually a little bit behind where we want to be, unfortunately. But I don't think I cannot think back to a more challenging market. And actually, this is a pretty interesting thing about our CRM. So I'm not sure if you guys can already see the screen.
As far as switch it over there, Marcy, if you can switch it over to Danny in control, that would be great.
Yeah, and we'll look like we have. By the way, I do want to do one thing before we completely take over, Danny. I want to get a little pulse check at how often everybody on this call today is using their CRM. So Marcy, if you could push that poll question, I want to know, are you using your CRM hourly? Like, and when I say hourly, I mean like, every other hour of the day. Are you using it daily? Are you using it monthly? Or are you using it never? Well, actually, it looks like we didn't get the hourly in there. So daily, weekly, monthly, or never, let us know how often you are using your CRM. And again, everybody who's been part of poll questions with me, you know that we need to have 70% of you vote before we move forward. That's how we're going to, really understand who's on the call and where you're at in terms of your usage of CRM. Is it daily, weekly, monthly, or never? Please post immediately, and then we can get into the content.
All right, we're close. We need a couple more to vote.
69%.
All right, if you could push the results, Marcy, let us see where the audience is at today. All right, so we're at 50% daily. High fives to all of you. 19% weekly. We need to upgrade that. 12% monthly. Big upgrade. And obviously, the 20% that said never. Hopefully, we will inspire you to get in the game and drive a CRM with daily rhythms. Danny, I hand it back to you.
Perfect. I appreciate it, Dave. So I want to set this up a little bit with a couple of kind of contextual points. So the first one is that the CRM that our team works in and is using, and that I'm going to share some of the highlights from today, is something that we developed since 2009. So we're talking about 8 years of evolution, and the first 4 years, so 50% of the time that we had our CRM, it was absolutely terrible, and it was terrible because we didn't understand and buy in to how massively important it was going to be for our business. We were still operating off of notebooks and just raw, brain power to try to keep all of the tasks and contacts and commitments that we made and to keep our process in line. We had Excel spreadsheets that were driving our pipelines. Really, all of these tools that we had standard operating procedures actually written out and typed out in books, and all of these things were driving our business. And we started adopting the tool that we use is Salesforce, and we've heavily customized it to really cater to the process that our teams developed over time, really the map of our client experience that we're constantly evolving and growing. But for the first 4 years of us using our CRM, it was absolutely useless to us because we didn't really adopt it. And that daily, weekly, monthly sort of idea, now I'm in it literally constantly. I have it on my phone. Everywhere I go, I have access to the information that is in our database, and all of those Excel spreadsheets are gone. All of those kind of printed out or books of standard operating procedures are gone because we've been able to adopt a CRM that not only captures our client information so that we can quickly access the phone numbers and email addresses, but also we've used automation within it to really drive the tasks and organize our day around the activities that we believe are going to allow us to convert best and create a client experience that's really going to resonate with our referral partners and our clients.
Hey, Danny, real quick, Danny, would you say that you use your CRM hourly or daily?
Minute by minute. The CRM drives my day. So everything that I do is driven off of my CRM task list. So the last thing I do before I shut down at night is I organize my following day's activities by creating my task list within the CRM. So for example, I can just show you right now. Hopefully there's not any. Yeah. Fortunately, there's no proprietary information here.
Yeah. And while you're showing that, I want folks to realize you run a big team. You're part of a big team, and you're a leader on that team. Because I often, find loan officers where they have a team, and it's like the team's job to use the CRM, but not the leader. I'm a big advocate that lead by example. You're a leader. and you have a team. So if you can kind of speak to where you use it as a leader, where your team uses it, and then folks who are on this call, if you have questions, Todd will bring you in. We will get your questions. Danny's going to go for about 20 minutes. Michelle's going to go for about 10. That's going to give us at least 20 minutes to have a very, address questions. Go ahead, Danny.
So I guess I can't stress enough how integrated the CRM is into our process. It is the foundation that everything we do comes off of. So the leadership is in the CRM, and we've actually designed automation and tasks for us driving our days, as far as, agent appointments and meetings, stuff to coordinate around for the team to help them. Today is actually a pretty light day for me. Usually I'll have about double the number of tasks built in here. And I even organize my own personal stuff. You notice the task number 2 here on the list is schedule my golf lesson, right? So everything within my personal and professional side, I keep in this ecosystem so that I can stay focused and make sure that I have the right time blocks out to kind of knock out everything I need to do and hit those priorities. So everybody's in it, and we have to be, because this is the tool that we use to communicate. And that has evolved at about the end of the 4th year, people started actually adopting it, and we turned it into a tool versus just a task. Because in the first 4 years, when we didn't get it, everybody was just haphazardly going in, making notes. Maybe they entered the person into the CRM, maybe they just kept them in their notebook because they knew that was going to be a good enough tool for them to follow up with. The main point of using a CRM, in our opinion, is that there's only so much that we can hold in our heads, and there's only so many tasks that we can execute in an organized way if we're trying to do it on raw talent without a system. And we're heavily focused on creating systems so that we don't have to think about it, right? I don't walk into my day and say, well, what am I going to do here, or who do I need to follow up with? And the front-end partners on our team don't walk into their day saying, what am I going to do and who am I going to follow up with? They actually know who they're going to work on and with because they've already organized their day around it. So, and every aspect of our business involves the Salesforce tool. So we have our marketing teams in there. The processors are actually using Salesforce to drive their day, and I'll show some of that just as a high-level view. And then when it comes to the leadership, actually looking at the data and analyzing kind of what's going on. So here's an example, and I'm kind of jumping ahead, but once you start capturing your client data and your loan data into Salesforce, you can start producing what's called dashboards that then create a visualization of that data. So, if you're trying to manage a group or lead a team or just run a business, having data in a very easy to consume format. So this shows that year to date, we've helped 372 families for a total of $182 million. Our goal is to help 1,200 families, so we certainly have a lot of work to do. We got to find, about 828 more families to help before the end of the year. And then, from this, I know on our front end which partners are, kind of the most productive. A lot of people are new, and whatever we need to do to try to help them kind of move the needle, we can focus our energies on those. And there's a huge range of dashboards here. Like another really useful one, if this is probably the most valuable one that I look at, is the number of leads that we've received and then our conversion of those leads. So I look on a day-to-day basis. So for example, on Monday, we took in 21 leads. Well, that tells me I probably need to focus my energy on assisting the team with lead management, because we're staffed to take in about 12 to 14 leads a day. So when I see a big spike like that, 21, it means that I'm probably going to need to step in and help out a little bit so that those leads don't slip through the cracks. And then I can watch what our conversion percentage is and then make sure that this diagonal, the in process with it, and this is a 30-day run, so this is a running 30 days. If our funded loans over 30 days is greater than our in-process conversions in 30 days, that means our pipeline's shrinking, and that's bad. If the number is higher in in-process versus funded, then our pipeline's growing, and I know that we're doing the right things and focusing on the right leading indicators to drive our business forward. And so from a leadership standpoint, Dave, this is really, it's the dashboards and the tools that help us visualize the data that a CRM can really help. But I don't want to get too far ahead. If you're one of the people in that 20%, this is step 10, and really getting to step 1 is the most important thing. And step 1 is just starting to capture the client data and understanding that, step 1's capturing the client data. Step 2 is really designing the process outside of the CRM that you want that client to experience. And then once you know what that process looks like, which this call and conversation is really not around, that's a completely separate conversation, developing that client map that'll get you where you want to be as far as conversion and captive audience referrals. You then start to work that process in an automated way into the CRM so that you can organize your day around what each of those clients need to experience on really almost a minute-by-minute basis. You'll know who needs to be touched because the system's actually driving that. So what I can do, Dave, is just show kind of how we enter leads into the system and what that means. And I'll do it in a very brief way, so we're not going to go way in depth. And then I can show some examples of what I actually pulled up a family member's loan, so I can actually show, some of the data in there, because I know that, it's okay to kind of get some of the information from them, up here in the screen for everybody to see how it drives through. Would that be a good next step, Dave and Todd?
Sounds great.
Excellent. So basically what we do is we have what's called, we have 2 categories of leads, and there's a lot of ways that we can do this, and we're constantly evolving this, but we basically say they're either a realtor contact, which really just means referral source. We include other types of people besides realtors, but that's just what we called it at the time because 98% of our leads were coming from realtors, or a standard contact. So I'm going to start with standard contact and say continue, and I'm going to say that this person's a prospect. And there's a number of different categories that we can put them in, but the one that by and large we're going to have, I would say greater than 95% of the time, is prospect. So we'll use the classic Mr. John homeowner. And then what I would input here is their email address, their contact information. I would make sure that I was capturing the appropriate amount of data in order for them to, in order for us to be able to get in touch with them quickly without me having to go to my notebook and pull up their information. I would get whoever their co-borrower info was. I would put some notes about this. They have 2 kids, they have a golden retriever that they love. Anything that I could use to touch in on to create connection, I would put in this all about you section. Try to capture as much info, family, hobbies, anything that might be useful to them, and then getting their address information. And then in order to actually save this, I have to put in where they came from. So I'm going to say they came from a referral partner. This contact is a borrower. The lead source was a business person, and it was Dave Savage. And the lead LO was me, and the origin was from our Gaylord Hanson team. What's interesting is when we save this, and this is something that is kind of that next level step, as soon as I press save here, this is going to become a contact in our system, and because I set it as a prospect, it's going to generate 2 additional items. One is called a lead tracker, and the other is called a loan object. So what we determined when we were devising our perfect loan process or our customer experience, and I'll share with you a little bit of the evolution because I think this is very intuitive, that we made the loan object first and the lead tracker came years later. So when we were developing out our platform, what we intuitively went to was we need to organize our in-process loans and really nail what the experience is like for a customer when they're in contract or when they lock their refinance. And so what we did was we built out this what's called an object within the CRM that allows us to capture all of the information that the production assistant and the processor are going to need to really understand what is going into that loan. And basically capture all of the loan story that is going to drive the communication forward. And then we could also use what's called the chatter feed to communicate. It's almost like the old conversation log. And this literally came from us looking. We had an Excel spreadsheet that was the intake form. You guys might remember, when we used to have the intake forms and fasten them into a manila folder and put them in Transbox. right? That was what we used to do, and then we took that intake form and just digitized it within our CRM, and we called it the loan object. So if we take, let me see if I have that other one that I was looking at. Let's just jump in there really quickly. So a completed loan object, this is a funded loan, would look like this. There'd be all this chatter, right? And I'm moving through this very quickly, so I apologize for that. And this is a closing back in 2015, so we've evolved the process since then. There's all the notes that was passing between. There's all the pricing information that the team's going to need in order to move this forward, and all the details about the loan here. But what's really important is that there was a plan set. The minute this loan hit our processor back in 2015, they set a plan that said, here are all the milestones of the loan and when they're going to be done and when they were actually completed. So the process of knowing whether or not that loan is going to have the contingencies removed and fund on time is actually predetermined as soon as the loan hits the pipeline, because they plan everything out and they set the date. And as long as the dates are being hit on time, then we know we're going to be successful. And what's really cool about that is before we had a system where we had this kind of insight around the planning of the loan, we would get to contingency removal or close date and we would be missing it. You know, this is many years ago, and we would say, what happened here? And then we would look back and find out that 10 days ago, the 4506T didn't get ordered on time, or the underwriter went on vacation and didn't underwrite the file until 3 days after when we were expecting it to. And we could have actually used that information to predict that we were going to be in trouble, and maybe it's almost like having a smoke alarm, right? We're caught in all these fires, and if we would have just installed a smoke alarm earlier in the process, then we would have been able to learn a little bit about how we can reallocate resources and maybe catch up a little bit on the timeline. So by planning out the loan in advance, we can have a really predictive process. And all of these automatically trigger as soon as the loan gets put into process in our system. It kind of fires all these off and assigns it to the right party on our team in order for them to complete it. And then, so to go back to the lead tracker, after we determined that, actually I'll go back to this one. So John Homeowner automatically produced a loan object, so I'll go back to his contact here. So we, you know, obviously in a perfect world, all this stuff's complete. After we nailed to, you know, we got it to like 85% of where we wanted it to be in our system as far as the in-process experience, we took a step back and said, well, is there something that we can do before that? And we realized that one of the most powerful parts of our process is conversion, right? If we can improve conversion, then we can dramatically increase our overall funded pipeline, because we're getting all these leads and we don't actually know what's happening. It's like a black box. Lead comes in and then somewhere down the line it gets put into process, and once it's put into process, we know a ton of information about what happens after that because we had the loan object. So we decided we're going to create what's called the lead tracker. So the lead tracker for John Homeowner actually just basically says, well, what's going on with this person before they get into contract? And we decided on these milestones that you can see here on the right, where once the lead's received, we need to make contact with them. We need to set an appointment. We need to take their application, get a needs list in, actually receive the stuff back, complete a pre-approval letter, get a consultation complete. And what you'll see in this lead tracker is basically, again, this one's all completed. And when these dates are completed here, it actually fires off a set of automated tasks. So if I say that the POS docs were received and the loan was pre-approved, if I put a date in there, actually let's just do it here. So let's say all of these things happen today. I'm just going to save it just for the sake of everybody's time, and we'll just do it all as one shot. The pre-approval will not. I'll show you where that goes. So I save that. Oh, let me put in. So you'll notice that all of these tasks actually generated as a result of that. And then for pre-approved, instead of putting a date, we actually have to put a little bit more intel in here. So we have to say this person's 100% pre-approved because all docs were reviewed, DU solid, or something along those lines. And let's go ahead and save that. And so then that kicked off a new task, create a mortgage coach for consult. So what's not done right now is the consultation is not being completed, where we actually share the information with the client. And so whoever it is that's managing this lead will then create a total cost analysis that then will drive the consultation. And so all of that kind of gets built in, and you'll see all of this was automated and the dates were offset. So for example, if the needs list was sent today, I was automatically assigned this task to follow up on the POS docs 2 days from now, which gives the client enough time to gather everything up. And so I'm not having to go and put a calendar alert or go to my notebook every day and figure out what commitments I made or what kind of follow-up. How many of us have had clients where we've sent and asked them, we gave them a very detailed list of what they needed to do, and it took them 3 or 4 times of us bugging them before they actually made it happen and really appreciated kind of what those next steps are. And of course, the triggers of updating the referral source are critical. We have what's called the communication commitment that I can also share with you guys too. If you'd like, I'll show you another tool that we use, which is basically a automated wiki for our team. So this is a little bit out of scope for this call, but it again just kind of helps us organize ourselves. The communication commitment that we have is all built into the CRM. So we basically have this commitment to reach out with a phone call in addition to a text or email at all the following milestones. And so it says who and when these things are going to be done. And then we build that in essentially to the CRM so that everybody knows what they're going to be, what they need to do to win the day, essentially. And that's in a nutshell, right? So lead contact object lets us capture customer information. Loan object lets us organize the in-process files. And then lead tracker helps us organize our prior to conversion leads so that we can really make sure we stay on top of everybody. And that's like the 15-minute version of our CRM.
Love it, love it. I think that is, I think as you said, right, you guys have, on a scale of 1 to 10, I think your system is an 11. And I definitely assume that the 20% who aren't using a CRM, their head might be spinning, and then maybe everyone else's is a little bit too. But I would give a couple of takeaways, and if you guys have any questions, definitely raise your hand, and we can unmute you, or you can always put it into the sidebar message there. But a couple of things that I would love to point out, and I think this is sort of, Danny, what kind of elevates you from a productivity perspective. Number one, if you look right at the very beginning when Danny showed you what his tasks were, right? You could not only did he tell us that he has his whole life in there, right? So I mean, Danny's living in there. If he's got to do it, it's in Salesforce, his CRM. If he doesn't have to do it, it's probably not. But he also had his learning in there. He had, I was nosy, Danny. He's got there for Monday to do his insane productivity. So he's going to do some studying up with Darren Hardy. He had in there study MBS highway review. He had in there to listen to a mortgage coach call. I always tell you guys on this call, there's just so much value in there. I was actually listening to the interview with Chris Smith on lead conversion this morning. And so I think that's awesome. I think the other part is that you guys collect so much information on a client, right? You have to connect with a client on something other than rate and payment, and I can do your loan. I love the fact that you guys are getting all that other information. And finally, of course, I know Dave loves it that you have an assigned task to do a total cost analysis. That mortgage coach is obviously a huge part of your process, which I think is critical, when you're trying to elevate your game.
Yeah, there's no doubt. Those are some awesome takeaways, Todd. And I don't know if Wally or anybody from the Wally Elderberry team, Team Wally, is on the call. If they are, I would love to have you guys raise your hand. We can even unmute you, have a bit of a dialogue. So before we bring in Michele and move on, we want to make sure what inspired today's focal topic was Wally's Facebook post. By the way, that post is also in our Insane Productivity private group on Facebook. And that is a place where, you guys can ask questions and answer questions. So there's already been some dialogue in there. Todd, do we see anybody from Team Wally on the call?
I
with
don't
their
see
hand
Wally,
raised?
and I'm not sure of his team member. So if you're here, raise your hand. We do have a couple people with hands up, so I'm not sure if any of these folks are on Wally's team or not. But I'm going to. I normally start at the top. I'm going to start at the bottom. So I'm going to take you, Shane Sharp, and I'm going to unmute you in about 2 seconds, and let's hear what you have to say. All right, Shane, can you hear us? All right, we'll give it one more try. Shane, are you there? There we go. I see your
By the way,
microphone.
Shane is on Wally's team.
Well, there we go. I picked the right person. Bingo. All right, Shane, are you there? It looks like Shane is having a communication issue. I'm going to remute you, Shane, and I lowered your hand. So if you can get your microphone going, I will call you again. I also, whoops.
So Shane, it may be something where you just need to sync up your mic to the GoToWebinar, or I don't know whether you're using your laptop or you're calling in, but if you could try a different way, and we would love to bring you back into the conversation when you get here.
All right, I'm going to unmute you, Ed Glazebrook, a longtime member of the community. How you doing, Ed?
Good morning. Good. Just had a quick question for Danny. I just started using Salesforce with Jungo, and looking through his layout, not even close to what I'm doing. So I can imagine that he's spent years and time developing that. The question I had when he showed when you set up a new loan, how the milestones and the dates, everything pops up. Is that, Danny, are you doing that by each loan by hand? And in other words, working backwards, going to the close date, and working the TRID numbers, and working out, and then also including holidays and things, or is it done automatically? How are you doing that?
So it's a combination. So the 80% of the tasks trigger off the loan creation date. So we believe in an as soon as process. So we want, just let's say it was a 60-day or 90-day escrow or new construction or something like that. We don't want the close date to actually drive everybody's day. We want the time that we got the loan. We want to actually figure out what do we need to do to get this done on time. We ask the question, how fast can we get all of this done? So we move. So it triggers off of the creation date, 80% of the tasks. Now, 20% do go off of the close date because it's important for us to have the CD out in time relative to the close date, and the doc's not out too early. So the auto dates trigger and give a loose framework, but the very first step of the processor is to go in and look at, because we don't account for holidays or even weekends. So they need to go in and say, well, I'm looking at my calendar right now, and in order to win on this deal, I need to move this date this way and this one this other way to make sure that everything gets straight. So the broad brush strokes are there for them to work with, so they don't have to do it all manually, but they do need to make the tweaks to have it be appropriate to the actual, execution of whatever the commitments are in that file.
Got it. So I can work with Salesforce to actually make the changes, or can I do that? I'm not familiar with the program yet. Is it customizable?
I'm not that familiar with Jungo's process. I do know that they have, even with our platform, we're only using probably 20% of the power of Salesforce. It's such a massive tool, and I know Jungo, most users get into it and find that it's a very, very deep rabbit hole of value that they can access, and it's a matter of learning step 1, step 2, and not trying to take all the elephant down at one time.
And I'll throw in there, it is Jungo is customizable as well. You can go in there and add fields and do all the stuff, and that's one of the unique features of Salesforce as a product, that it has that ability where not every CRM does.
Got it. So it's just like the ocean.
I will have at some point in the months to come, we'll have Jeremy Forcier come in, who is not only an incredible mortgage coach, but Jungo. I do want to emphasize here again, we're not here to endorse any one specific CRM. We're here to and say, hey, there's ways to upgrade how you're using your CRM. By the way, any other questions before we give Shane another shot?
Yeah, we do have another. I'm going to unmute Brian Bolger in 1 sec. But the other thing I would throw out there, I mean, oftentimes, I think Danny kind of said it, you can go down a rabbit hole with CRM, and I would tell you that, you know, really every mortgage-specific CRM I've seen is really good, and it's way better than the CRM you're not using. And so one of the challenges is not to get a CRM and think you need to change things in it. I mean, they're built typically by loan officers, or they've interviewed loan officers extensively, and so they're worked through a process, and the goal with the CRM is to understand it. And I always love it. I mean, I always quote Dave you on this one, right? The best CRM is the one that you use, and oftentimes a CRM that's just out of the box that you can't mess with is better for a loan officer who's going to go down those rabbit holes and not get themselves back out. You just got to get in it, put your data in it, and start using is what I certainly would recommend.
Thank you.
All right, and I'm going to mute you, and then I'm going to unmute Brian here. All right, Brian, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Doing great.
Good. Great information, Danny. I would say that, yeah, you're at, someone said 11. I think you're probably maybe a 15 or closer to a 20. So for someone that is newer, that's really trying to get started, I've used ACT and I've used Buffini as a CRM, but it doesn't allow you to set the various tasks per se, or it does, but it's a little clumsy. Does the Jungo, does it work exclusively with Salesforce, or is it a separate program, or how does that work? I'm looking at something really more for myself than for an entire organization or sales team, at least initially. So I'm curious.
Jungo is built off of the Salesforce backbone. So yeah, Jungo is a Salesforce tool.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I'm trying to find something probably kind of in between Buffini and Salesforce then, that, you know, Jungo, that would allow me to actually set tasks and come up with kind of the, you know, perfect loan system based on the way we do things here. So I'm open.
So I want to jump in. So first of all, it's a fantastic question, and I'm sure you're not the only one that has some variation of that. I do want to be careful that we don't, you know, turn this into either one demo of particular technology or, you know, how to shop for CRM. Although I do think that, you know, I'm going to huddle up with my partner manager, Linda Verardi, and we'll talk about providing some type of leadership on, you know, how to shop for CRM, or, you know, an overview of some stuff like that. So, you know, I do want to make sure in this call we've only got, let's see, we've got about 20 minutes left. One, we haven't got to Michele, and two, we have some questions. But I also want to limit questions to specific questions about your process, and be careful that we don't just get into, you know, shopping for CRM or what features does different CRM have.
I think that's a great point, and I did mute you, Brian, because your speaker's
Brian,
wrong.
good question, and I'm going to figure out how to answer it. I'm going to answer it.
All right, so, all right, awesome. So any other things, Danny, that you want to add? I don't see any other hands up, so if anyone else has a question, we've got 20 more minutes, and we would love to bring it in. Appreciate those of you who did raise your hands.
Hey, Shane, by the way, Shane,
I'm going to try Shane one more time.
You can post questions and go to webinar, so keep that in mind. If you can't unmute you, you can type out some questions.
Hey, Shane, I've got you unmuted again. Can we hear you now? Shane, are you there? All right, nope, we're still having troubles with you, Shane. I apologize. So I will remute you one more time, and we can give it another shot. But so go back to my question to you, Danny. Any other things that you've thought of in this time frame that you would love to add in before we have Michele kind of give us her take on CRM efficiencies?
I alluded to this earlier, but I want to just highlight it as the most important point, that in that first 4 years where we were struggling with our CRM, it was simply an adoption issue. The tool was relative to where it is today, nowhere close, but the amount of power that it had as soon as we just made the commitment to adopt it and use it and live in it, right away we got almost all of the value out of it that all we're doing now is just tinkering and optimizing. But you have to commit to it and use it, or else you're not going to get out of it all it can be.
Well, and I think that's true. We have a rule on our team. If it's not in the CRM, it didn't happen, and that's the only way as you grow beyond yourself and an assistant and a processor that everyone can really communicate, right? And so, that's the real benefit of a CRM, as well as tracking your clients. And Dave and I recorded a Skype interview, about a 10, 12-minute one, I think, earlier this week that Dave posted on annual reviews, and just makes it so much easier for processes like that as well. Don't you think, Danny?
Oh, absolutely, because, we do. I didn't even show it, but we have a number of post-closing tasks that trigger off so that we can maintain communication, as well as once all the information's in the system, we can initiate automatic drip campaigns via email, Salesforce, or most CRMs have the ability to send automated emails and text messages out. You can record, not record the call itself, but record the fact that you made a call directly from your phone if you call out of the CRM app that you can get on your phone for most CRMs. So again, just a ton of power if you get into it and really just start using even the surface level tools of a CRM will be life-changing for your business.
Love it. All right. So Michele, what do you have to add to this conversation after Danny walked us through the Cadillac of CRMs that they've custom built?
All I can say is wow. Wow. Great. Great content. Mine is very simple because, and I don't want to share my screen because I tend to, if I share my screen, I'm going to overcomplicate it because I like to explain everything. So I would say the first thing is if you have to have a CRM. I don't care what CRM it is. It's the key to your success because it's going to help you stay organized. That's why we have a CRM, right? And we also have a CRM to help us take off some of the follow-up stuff. So if you set your CRM to have, certain trigger points of either a text message or a follow-up email, that allows your staff to work quality hours on, processing the actual data that's in and let your CRM do your follow-up for you. That's what I really use my CRM for. My perfect loan is a loan comes in, I put it into my CRM, it immediately tags with a thank you card reminder to send out a thank you card for the person I spoke to. Then it tags to needs list sent. And then I let my CRM follow up on the needs list. So I don't have to use staff members to follow up on that until it's the final, I think after 7 days, we trigger for a task for somebody to call them to find out where their package is. But in the interim, my text messaging and my email is going out to the borrower, reminding them just simple things. Hey, let us know how we can help you, so that I can work on quality hours. Once the needs list comes in, it goes into either pre-approved or not qualified. If it's pre-approved, it then goes to do the pre-approval letter and the mortgage coach presentation. And then when it's pre-approved, it also goes into a 6-week email and text campaign to stay in touch with the client. So every week that client is reminded that they're pre-approved and asking them how we can help. If it's not qualified, it then goes into another campaign of how can we help them, whether it be a credit. You can go into a lot of different reasons why people don't get qualified, but simply it goes into a 3-month follow-up campaign to see how we can help them. I don't use my CRM right now for my live transactions until it closes because we have our own internal system that does the approved status, the docked out status. But probably the key and one of the things that helps me stay in touch with my clients is at the end in our closing procedures, it goes into a campaign of catching them 45 days after the loan closes to ensure that they've got their first payment coupon, that everything's going well, also reminding them to review us. Then 6 months later, we do another touch to them to make sure everything's still going well, seeing if they need any additional help with whether it be a HELOC or if somebody has an opportunity to remove mortgage insurance. That's where we actually pull their data and check, let them know how their values are doing. And then we do an annual campaign every year where we do a review. So that first year, they're touched at least a minimum of 3 times by me, personally, just to make sure that everything's going okay with the loan and making them feel important. But that's simply what I use my CRM for.
Well, which is great, right? I think that just like Danny, you guys are kind of setting it and forgetting it, right? You've created a system. It can act as your memory for you because most of us can't handle that much data in our brain. And Coach Bill Hart always calls it one-timing it, right? It's like you used to get on an airplane and every airplane had a human being that showed you how to buckle your seatbelt and showed you how to blow up your life vest. Now, the newer planes have a TV screen that pops down and they one-timed it. There's a video that tells you how to do those things. It's the same thing that both you and Danny have done with your CRM, and I think most of the CRMs that Dave has mentioned earlier that you would find in the mortgage business will help you do that, or you can build those features in.
Correct. I think if you just work with whatever CRM you choose, again, you can't choose the wrong one if you don't have one. Does that make sense? So
no, I think that totally makes sense.
Find one that works for you so that you can alleviate some of the, what I call chatter. There's a lot of chatter work in our business, and if you can have a computer help you a little bit without losing that personal touch, oh my gosh, you're going to free up so much time to do quality work.
Yeah, I think that's huge. That's huge. All right, so I got a message from Shane. Shane thinks his phone is ready to rock and roll. So third time I think is going to be a charm, Shane. Here I go. Let's give it a shot. He called in on his phone now, so that's awesome. But I'd love to hear your question for Danny from you. All right, Shane, are you there?
Hey, can y'all hear me okay? Hello.
Now we can hear you. Awesome. Welcome.
Oh my goodness.
Love the question.
I'm the first millennial ever that does not use an iPhone. It's a Christmas miracle. So I appreciate your patience with me. But no, I love all the feedback from you guys, and it's been really helpful to kind of hear how you guys are doing this at a really high level. Much like some of y'all, we're managing from lead to contract at a really high level. We use a CRM called Velocify. It's really great for us. It has a really great integration with Mortgage Coach as well. We love it. And really where our big gap is we have a company-issued CRM from contract to close, but our model has some really great Salesforce-based. It's very similar to Jungo, and it's not customizable, though, from what we're specifically doing, and our model is very different than a lot of people's models. So not to get in the weeds, I know that's not the purpose of this call, but we're really searching for something that can integrate, everything on there, especially more on the support side of things. So my question is really just, I'd love to hear how you guys are delegating tasks. I mean, are y'all delegating these tasks to other people in your team, or is this more so just the initial owner of the lead up front, like the front end LO? That would be my first question, then I kind of have a follow-up question from that.
Awesome. Hey, Dan, you want to jump in and take that?
Yeah, this is a massive delegation tool. So for me personally, as our processes evolved, I'm for the majority of clients that come through, I'm actually only connecting with that client, the actual family that's buying the house or refinancing, for about 20 minutes for the whole life cycle. And then I have tasks assigned to me for the referral source and kind of lead generation stuff, but the rest of it is going out to other team members. And being able to coordinate all those people requires a system that can kind of keep everybody on task as to what they need to do. So yeah, massive delegation.
Perfect. And then let's say you order a 45060 and it starts off maybe at a processor partner, a processor assistant, and it comes back and there's some discrepancies, so then it needs to be reassigned to the processor per se. The processor makes her notes, and then maybe the transaction coordinator, maybe the loan officer has to get involved. So, and that specific, it started off with just a 4506, and then it got potentially delegated to 3 or 4 different people throughout that same task. are you finding that it's easier, more efficient to reassign on that specific task? Are you just creating a new task and finishing up the previous one?
Creating a new task. So
a new task.
Yeah. So let's say it was that was the example, right? So there's a documentation issue. So and then other people outside of the normal process need to get involved. So we would use the conversation log, which is the chatter within our CRM, and there would be communication back and forth, all captured and timestamped around what the issue was. Then there would be a new task created for whoever was going to move that forward. And if it was a basic thing, so we have three categories. A file is either in a red, yellow, or green state. Yellow state is 90% of the loans. And probably 5% fall into green, meaning we just crushed it so much that we wanted to acknowledge the fact that this file went way outside of the process in the positive direction, or it's a red file where it went outside of the process in a negative direction. So if that was an instance where a 45 of C60 came back and we then knew that that was going to jeopardize any of the timelines, we would move the file to red, and then that would trigger a bunch of events where any of the stakeholders on that loan would then have a meeting as early as possible that same day, and then there would be a decision around who is going to own the problem and own the solution, and then new tasks would be generated out of the system based on that meeting of everybody around the red status of that file.
So do you just have that as a separate object in Salesforce, or is that triggered by other events? Or that's really interesting.
No, it's within the loan object. We designate whether or not it's red, yellow, or green, and then when that state, there's a dashboard or a report that we can go to called loan health, and then it'll show us who all of our red loans are so that we can manage around those on a day-to-day basis. But all the tasking is done manually once we kind of get into that phase, because this is, it's still very, very important for us to have human systems, right? All the CRM does is enhance the capability of our very, very effective business partners that are all working with us. It doesn't replace any of them. It just makes them more efficient.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, perfect. I appreciate that.
Awesome. Thanks, Shane. Appreciate your persistence in helping us get you on. Those were great questions, and we appreciate Wally's questions stoking on this whole conversation today. I'm going to remute Shane. I see Brian's got his hand back up. I'm going to pull you on, Brian, and then I'll probably ask you the question, and then once you're done asking it, I'll probably remute you if we get that same echo again. But here we go. All right, Brian, you're back. Do you have another question for Danny, Michele, or myself, or Dave?
No, I didn't. I noticed my hand was up, but I'm not sure how that happened.
All right, no worries. All right, we will remute him. So we just have about 7 more minutes. Any other feedback, Michele, on what you heard in those questions, the conversation between Danny and Shane?
No, I agree with Danny that once you get into the actual part of the file, it's too hard to create tasks because you could have like 500 tasks for the different tasks. So independent tasks at that point work well. And I just really encourage everybody to use their CRM. It's amazing. Right, Danny? It's amazing.
It absolutely is. I can't imagine life without it now. And I look back and try to think of how I used to organize myself, and you can't scale without systems.
Well, and I think that's a huge point. And, one of the things that Shane mentioned was that the company has a different CRM, and, certainly it's going to vary by, wherever you work, and there's always going to be limitations with a company CRM from a compliance perspective oftentimes, but the good news is it's integrated into what they're doing, and oftentimes the loan origination system. And what I seem to find with my coaching clients whose companies have pretty robust CRMs, that they've really, again, just like I said earlier, you don't need something quite as fancy as what Danny has if you've got something that works, something that integrates in with the system. And oftentimes I find people who are out there trying to find something outside of it, that they want to reinvent the wheel. And, as you heard everyone say today, if you're not using the CRM, you're so much better off just starting with something where you can get some support that exists, that may not cost you money or may cost you less money. So I think that that's certainly a great opportunity. What other kind of closing thoughts, guys, would you have in a minute or less, Danny? What would be your last advice for this crew?
I just that last point, Todd, that getting into it and don't try not to. I say this, it's much easier said than done. And try not to let the process overwhelm you. Understand that if you have something, if you're operating in Excel, which, you know, when I meet with other loan officers that kind of ask us about our systems, I'm finding that that's primarily how people are organizing themselves. It's either in paper notebooks or with Excel spreadsheets. Most CRMs can translate your Excel spreadsheet over into the CRM very quickly. You can basically, if it's in Excel, it can be easily transferred over into a CRM, and oftentimes it can be done in bulk so that you don't have to go in and manually enter all of your past clients. So use tools. Don't hire professionals where you can. You know, if you can save yourself time and accelerate yourself up the learning curve by, you know, hiring somebody that is familiar with whatever CRM that you're using and can do those data uploads to get you started. Once you're in that ecosystem and the static friction that's kind of keeping you from being there, or the activation energy that's keeping you from being in that state where everything's organized around your CRM, you know, look to other professionals that can kind of bring you up that curve, you know, data nerds that can make it happen. And then once you're there, you will be so grateful that you took those steps.
Love it. Love it. That's huge. That's huge. And Dave was having some tech issues earlier. Are you back on, Dave?
I am back on, man. What an awesome call. I mean, Danny, you were awesome. Michele, amazing. Questions have been fantastic. Want to remind everybody on this call, we do this every Friday at 9 o'clock, and it's all about personal productivity. It's all about rapidly improving production. You know, this call was, you know, very technology focused. The theme is the same productivity with Mortgage Coach. So it's Darren Hardy's program. All the leaders on this call have been through that program. If you have not been through that program, we cannot advocate it enough. You know, Todd Bookspan and myself and the other mentors think it's the best personal productivity training there is. So this is a reminder, you can sign up from that. Also, we do use our Facebook page, usually a little bit more during the call, but also after the call. So make sure you check out if you haven't already signed up and requested to be a member of our Facebook Insane Productivity is Mastermind group, make sure you do that. I mean, my last thought, and then I'll give it to you to close, Todd, is, you know, when I interview the best loan officers, you know, they all have a couple things in common. They have great communication systems and processes and rhythms, and they deliver a perfect loan process. And here in the Mortgage Coach community, you know, a perfect loan process is not perfect without a total cost analysis. So all I can say is, you know, this was a great call to talk about how people can use CRM, how they can use technology, and please ask more questions, whether you do that through our Facebook group throughout the week or whether you do that through the GoToWebinar control panel. And with that, Todd, I'll hand it back to you.
Awesome. Yeah, I just want to really close with just a couple of things. Yes, thank you for those of you who raised your hand and asked questions, either were brave and did it live on the phone, and also those who did it through the webinar question panel. That is just great. Don't be intimidated by, you know, Danny and Michele having these rock star systems, right? Start small, use it every day. In fact, use it throughout the day, and I think that you'll have that opportunity to grow. Look for opportunities to use it to be more productive. Use it for delegation, tracking, reminders, all those things that you need. Dave mentioned the private Insane Productivity with Mortgage Coach Facebook group. If you're not in it, you can request membership as someone who participated on this call. So we would love to have you as part of that community. There's lots of great conversation in there. And then, of course, a shameless plug. I'm going to be Dave's guest on Tuesday, this next Tuesday, on the Mortgage Coach call, and excited to join the community one more time. So just, if you're tired of hearing me each week here on Friday talking about this, we'll be talking about something new and different over there next Tuesday. That's at 9 a.m. Pacific time as well. And as always, thank you, Dave. Thanks, Danny. Thanks, Michele. And most importantly, thanks to the rest of you all for being here. We'll be back here next week, same time, same registration link. We look forward to seeing you here.
Thanks, everybody. Take care.